Mindset is everything in real estate, and today I'm going to share with you 11 different types of mindsets that can lead to your success or failure in this business. The beliefs we have is what leads to the actions we take. And today what I want to do is really break down some of the mindsets that I see in different types of agents at different times in their career that either leads to success or ultimately to failure. So what I want to do is I want to start with really from the beginning, some of the things that I see in traits. And basically what I want to do is I want to go through the thing that I see that leads to success, and then I want to say the other counterpart to that, which ultimately leads to failure. So let's start with this. The first thing is this. When I started, one of the things that I did is I had a quick start in my real estate career, and I see this a lot of times. And what I call this phase is ignorance on fire. Listen, passion draws a crowd. When you're excited about something, you can't help but go out and talk to people about it. So what happens a lot of times is that we have new agents, and some of them, maybe the agents that have been around for a little while, they're like, how is this new agent taking these listings? They don't even know really what's going on. Ultimately, think about this. Energy draws energy. Energy attracts attention. It gives you the ability to do things that maybe the amount of knowledge you have shouldn't give you the ability to do. So what is it that you can do that we can take from that? Because ultimately, ignorance on fire is not something that you should do on a sustained basis. It's a process where you get started quickly. And maybe even there's times in your career where you restart your career, where you're moving into a different area. Maybe you've always focused on first-time homebuyers, and now you're going to work on investment properties, where you begin to get excited again, and you have a little bit of ignorance, but you're learning. Ultimately, we want to move from that ignorance on fire to being on fire and having the knowledge. All right, we talked about what leads to success when we're beginning, which is that ignorance on fire. But what's the other side of that? What is it that sometimes I see that leads to some failure? And that is knowledge on ice. Ignorance on fire is on fire. It's actually having a lot of things happening. It creates momentum. But knowledge on ice is when you have the experience, you have the knowledge, yet you aren't out there giving that knowledge and that information to the people that need it the most, your prospective clients. This is what happens sometimes when we see burnout. We see somebody that gets to a point in their career where maybe they've done some things, they've got the knowledge, they've got the experience they need, they have the wisdom to be able to really help people, and then they just get tired and they just stop adding value in a way that draws people to them. Maybe this is you when you're at a place where you just need a little bit of a break. What I want to do is I want to encourage you. There's a couple ways we can get excited again about this. Don't always do things the same way. Monotony ends up leading to us being bored. Sometimes we need a little bit of boredom. We need that consistency. But what is it that you can do to get excited about this business? What's the area of your business that you enjoy working with the most? Why not just identify who that ideal client is, and let's begin focusing on what we can do to become more knowledgeable and add more value to that group of people. Maybe it's something that you've always enjoyed doing with photography, for instance. Sometimes we have people that are a little artistic, but they get so done in this business, they get so busy in this business that they don't have the things that they enjoy. They end up having to do all of the tough things all of the time. It leads to that burnout. So what is it for you? What is it that you can do? You've got the knowledge, you've got the skills, you've got the wisdom. How can you recreate that energy that you've had in the past? I always like to say this: if I've lost something, maybe I've been excited before, what I like to do is I like to go back to the last place that I had that energy. So what was it for you? Who was the last client, the last closing, where when you got to the closing table, you were like, I love this business? Go back to that place. Identify who that client was. Identify how you generated that lead initially. Think about what that relationship was. Who was the person, that ideal person that you love working with? What type of property was it? Was it a listing? Was it a buyer? Whatever it was, go back to the last place that you had that energy and begin to work from that place again. The third trait, and this is one that leads to success, is being proactive. This is someone that is actually going out there and controlling their schedule. They're time blocking certain times when they're going to do prospecting every day. They're very proactive on following up with past clients or their sphere of influence and inviting them to go have lunch with them or to check in with those folks. They're very proactive in their marketing, where they have a content calendar that is scheduled out in advance on the things that they're going to be doing. They're very proactive in that they have something going out on a weekly or at a minimum a monthly basis as far as a newsletter. You see, when you're proactive in this business, everything begins to move in your directions. You become become someone that is not just out there reacting to everything. You're actually out there making things happen instead of waiting on them to happen. That leads us right into the next trait, which actually does lead to failure ultimately, and that's being reactive instead of being proactive, which leads to success. When we're reactive in our business, this is something where we don't have control of our schedule, where every little thing that comes along is something that is a fire we have to go put out. These are those days when we show up in the office and we don't have a plan of action, and we spend the first 30 minutes to an hour trying to figure out what it is that we're going to do that day to add value and to grow our business. The reactive person is someone that by the end of the day, they're exhausted, and they get to the end of the day and they say, did I really accomplish anything at all? You see, if you're going to grow your business, if you're going to be someone that has that trait that is moving in the right direction, don't be reactive. Begin to get proactive in your business. The next trait that leads to success is the person who is persistent. I will promise you this business is going to throw things at you on a daily basis sometimes, especially when you have activity that's going to make you question, man, I just don't know if I even want to do this. There's going to be difficult things. You're going to have that closing that's about to happen, and all of a sudden there's going to be something that shows up with a loan or with an inspection or something that happens. Are you going to be someone that's going to be persistent enough to take care of the problem as quick as possible and then move on to beginning to add value to other people? A lot of times what happens is when these things happen, it will make people stumble. I found that this business is almost like, are you serious about wanting to have success in here? And it's going to throw these things at you to see if you're going to be persistent enough to move through those issues that we have. The biggest barrier to your success in a lot of cases is whether you're going to work through those problems and keep moving forward, or whether you're going to let them slow you down and ultimately stop you from moving forward in your business. The other side of the success trait that is persistence is the failure one, and that is someone that is pessimistic. Are you coming in expecting things to go wrong, or are you expecting good things? Are you coming in and when something happens that is difficult, are you saying, well, that's just something that's going to happen, and then you're expecting something else to happen? Or are you, like we talked about before, are you persistent enough to push through that problem and look for the opportunities that are still there and are ultimately on the other side? Ultimately, the way it's not a matter whether things are going to happen to us, it's how we react to them that leads to our success or our failure. So what are you doing with your attitude, your mindset, as far as making sure that when those difficult times come, you view them as the opportunity they are to drive deep roots in a relationship, show your value in a way that helps you to build a business that compounds into the future. You see, when issues come up, what it really does ultimately is gives you an opportunity to show your true value to that client. When you're that thermostat, so to speak, where you're that person that keeps everything on keel when things get difficult, you're the person that attracts not only the client that you've got to have more confidence in you, but you're going to attract additional people as well. They can't wait to tell someone at the other side of this how you handled things coolly, calmly, and you made sure that ultimately they were able to achieve the goal they had in the beginning. The next mindset I see with people that have success in real estate is that they are constantly growing themselves. They have a growth-oriented mindset. They are constantly looking for new ways to do the business, better ways to serve their clients, more ways to become more efficient, more ways to add value to their clients. What is it that you're doing on a daily basis to have that growth mindset? For me, we're shooting this in the morning. It's about 8 o'clock. I've already spent about an hour and a half this morning researching different types of topics. Right now I'm studying AI. Right now I'm studying social media. Right now I'm studying video distribution. Those are the areas that I see that add the most value to the agents that I get to work with. So what is it in your business? What's the area in your business that you're trying to get better at? And what are you doing to have that growth mindset? Because ultimately what I found is that in this business, seekers find. If you're seeking options to be able to grow, you will grow. If you're seeking ideas and new things that you can do in your business to add more value to people, you're going to be able to add more value to people. What is it that you're doing to have that mindset of growth? Because ultimately when you grow yourself, your business can't help but grow. The other side of the growth mindset, which leads to success, is the one that ultimately leads to failure, and that is you got it all figured out. You know, are you somebody that feels like you've got everything figured out? The way you've been doing your business for the last 5 years, hey, this thing is just kind of running itself right now. Ultimately, the second that you stop growing, you're beginning to die. So what is it that you're doing to make sure that you stay fresh, that you aren't settling into a place where you're excited, where you're basically just coming into the office and you're saying, well, I'm just going to do the same things I've always done, and I'm expecting to get the same results. results. Ultimately, we talk about this a lot of times when it's difficult things or when you're having failures. If you continue to do the same things, you're going to get the same results. But on the good side of this, if you continue to do the things you've been doing, that will only last so long on the good. Ultimately, it will begin to erode. Ultimately, if you keep doing the things that you've been doing that you've led to success, ultimately there'll be something new. There'll be something more efficient. You'll get to a place where it will begin to erode. So come to this place where you're always constantly thinking about growing and realize that you don't even know what you don't know, and ultimately that's going to lead to your success. The next mindset that leads to success is being consistent in everything that you do. Consistency really literally leads to the ability to have confidence that you're doing the right things. What is it you do on a daily basis that leads to your success? You see, we can do things, but it has to be something that over time is consistent rather than doing it all in a pile. Here's what happens for a lot of people is we come in and we say, gosh, I need to make more phone calls, and we decide that one day we're going to make 50 phone calls, and we wear ourselves out. We end up at the end of the day getting a few things done, but we're so tired that we can't go do that consistently the next day. What is it you can do? I love when John Maxwell talks about the rule of 5, and basically what he says is that if you had a tree, and this is the way this breaks down, if you had a tree that is in your backyard, and if every day you woke up and you walked out back and you hit that tree, boom, boom, and you hit that thing with an axe 5 times, and you lay that axe down. If the next day you come back out and boom, you hit that tree with that axe 5 more times and you lay it down, and then you come back the next day and you're consistently hitting that tree 5 times a day, sooner or later that tree is going to go down. So what is it for you? What are those 5 things? And listen, sometimes the tree's bigger and it takes longer. Sometimes it's small and it falls very quickly. What is it that you're doing consistently on a daily basis that you know is going to lead to that? For me and for most agents, it comes down to a couple things. It's talking with past clients. Are you doing that on a daily basis? It's hosting open houses or whatever it is you do for marketing. It's making sure your database is clean. It's posting on social media. It is going out there and having conversations on a daily basis with new people that you're adding into your database. Whatever it is for you, when you get consistent with your business, you can expect the results to be consistent as well. The other side of consistency that leads to success is inconsistency. That leads to failure. Ultimately, the difference between good agents and great agents is that the great agents simply do on a daily basis what the average agents do every so often. So what is it that you're doing every so often that you can begin to bring consistency into that will lead to additional success? Again, we don't want to overwhelm ourselves. If I knew and if I went out and I said, you know what? I know that I need to cover 100 miles to get physically in better shape. If I were to go out and try to do that over the next 2 days, I would literally be so sore, so it would just be painful and it would inflict injury. But if I were to take this and I were to say, you know what? I'm going to walk 2 miles every day for the next 50 days. Not only am I going to get stronger over that 50 days, but I'm going to build endurance. All of a sudden, I'm going to get momentum. You see, consistency leads to success. So what is it that you're doing that's inconsistent that you can just simply bring into line where now you're getting consistent with that activity? Are you prospecting on a daily basis? Are you out there adding on social media value? Are you shooting video consistently? Are you posting certain types of content every week? Are you sending that newsletter? You see, consistency is key to success, and I'll promise if you find a way to move those things that you're inconsistent in into consistency, your success is going to follow. Last but not least, all of these traits that we talked about on the positive side lead to ultimately the place that we want to be in our business, and that is having the mindset that you are magnetic. Ultimately, your vibe is going to attract your tribe. When you get and you're working at a frequency where you're consistent, where you're adding value to other people on a consistent basis, where you're someone that is getting smarter and understanding that you can add more value than ever before, than anybody else in the marketplace, all of a sudden what happens is your mindset begins to come to a place where you're like, you know what? I'm doing the work. I'm expecting to have some success here. And what happens is it's almost like the world feels that emotion that you have. It's almost like everything begins to become magnetic. And all of a sudden now, while you're out there doing the business, things begin to happen where all of a sudden that video you did 2 to 3 weeks ago, you get a phone call and says, hey, I loved your video on this neighborhood. I'm coming into town. Can you show me this? And you go under contract the next week. All of a sudden what happens is hey, I saw something you posted on social media 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I was thinking about that neighborhood neighborhood that you were talking about, that open house you did in that neighborhood, I've got some friends that are coming into town. Could you show them around that neighborhood? You see, what happens is that it is the consistency, it's the domino effect of everything that you've been doing comes to a place where everybody around you knows that you're the expert. They understand that you're the person that's the resource that they need in all things real estate in your marketplace. And you become so magnetic that you can't help but have success. I hope this has been helpful, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for watching the video. I specifically chose the video below for you because it builds on the one you just watched. I hope it's helpful, and I'll talk to you soon.